Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to this Irwin Mitchell webinar where we're going to be talking about apprenticeships within our organisation. We're really excited to hold this session, and again would like to make a warm welcome to you all. This session really is to help showcase our apprenticeship proposition, which has grown hugely, thankfully, over the last 3 years. As you know, or most of you should know, hopefully, the premise of this presentation was to appeal to students, parents, teachers, as well as influencers to promote the importance of apprenticeships in today's career landscape, something which continues to evolve at such a fast pace. And we hope that the information we'll be sharing today over the next 40 minutes or so will prove useful for each of you. Now, my name is Lorcan Seary. I'm the apprenticeship manager for Irwin Mitchell, and I feel very privileged to hold this role, which involves looking after our apprenticeship proposition. I've been in Irwin Mitchell since 2021, and in that time I'm really fortunate to see our apprenticeship proposition grow quite significantly. However, I've worked within the early careers sector for the last 20 years. Now, this session is being recorded and will be shared afterwards on our apprenticeship page for you to watch at a later date. Now, today I'm also going to be joined by a selection of our current apprentices who are really looking forward to sharing their stories with you and to give you their personal insight. Some who will be sharing some tips on people who may well look to apply for an apprenticeship, whether that be at Irwin Mitchell or indeed other organisations. And others who will take you through their considerations when they were opting to either go to university or to take up an apprenticeship. I'm also going to be joined by one of my colleagues, Amy, from the Early Careers team, who will be on hand to support with any questions as well. The next thing I'd like to do is just to say a big thank you to all of you who sent through some questions, which we'll try and cover off as many of those as possible during today's session. So a big thank you. Next slide, please, Liv. Okay, so in terms of today's session, we're going to be running through a little bit about who Irwin Mitchell are. We're also going to be talking about apprenticeships because I'm conscious that there's still quite a few common myths that exist out there, unfortunately, today. So hopefully, as a result of this session, you'll just be a lot more informed about what apprenticeships actually are. We'll also be covering off what apprenticeship opportunities do we currently have. As you know, we went live with all our vacancies for 2024 on the 5th of February. We'll also be looking at the current pathways into law because, again, there's been great immense change over the traditional routes into the world of law and into the world of solicitor qualification over the last few years. As I alluded to earlier, we're also going to be able to hear from our current apprentices. For me, and from other feedback we've had in previous years, there's nothing more invaluable than listening to our current apprentices who are on hand to talk about their current experience, what a day in their life looks like, etc. And also to provide tips on applications and also some considerations that some of you might be facing right now about your career pathways and options moving forwards. We'll also cover off what support is available to anyone joining as an apprentice at Irwin Mitchell. And then finally, we'll be covering off some time at the end for some questions as well. The next slide, please, Liv. Okay, so just a little bit about Irwin Mitchell. We were established in 1912 and we do have currently 17 UK sites. Now, that's really important to us because essentially what we want to do, we very much want to encourage applicants to come from the communities in which we serve. So rather than just have one base outside of London, we're really privileged to have these sites around the country where we've got some fantastic colleagues who are on hand to support our new apprentices coming into our business. Now, we are currently the UK's largest full-service law firm. We've got about 3,000 employees. We're the 11th largest law firm. And I'd just really like to spend some time just talking about some of our recent rankings, some accolades that we feel particularly proud of. Some of these include where we've been recognised for the #1 law firm for female partners. We've also been placed in the rankings within the Employer Mindful Charter, which essentially shows and indicates how much we support our colleagues in terms of well-being. We're regularly ranked as one of the best workplaces for women. We're also in the top 40 employer rankings list for Stonewall and their equality index. Now, this is really important to us because we feel that for those colleagues to be at their very best, they need to be feel very authentic and to be able to feel themselves when they come into work. So for us, the representation from the LGBTQ plus communities are really, really important, as well as from other groups as well, whether that be disability, race, etc. We want people to feel themselves, and we're on hand to support all applicants throughout our process. We also know that apprenticeships are pivotal to our success. And as a result of this, we're regularly recognised as being a great place to work for well-being. And for those sports enthusiasts amongst you as well, we're also key partners for UK athletics, rugby and rowing. Okay, next slide please, Liv. Now this illustration just shows where our current sites are, and I'm pleased to say for our apprenticeship vacancies for this year, the majority of these sites currently have vacancies. So for anyone who's interested, please take a look at the Irwin Mitchell website, the apprenticeship website, and you'll be able to see the latest vacancies on this page. Now this page really just shows what our current legal client service areas are. Now this comprises of our team who are our legal and operations engine really. This team delivers outstanding legal service to clients and provides some business and operational services to our colleagues that affect clients and also the wider group. Most of our apprentices sit within most of these client service areas and would be involved in the fascinating client work they deliver. Now, in case some of you aren't familiar with some of these terms, the Commercial Advisory and Disputes team, it's a big team. It involves areas such as employment and litigation. We've also then got complex personal injury, such as serious injury, medical negligence. We've got corporate and finance, very much dealing with organisations and businesses. We've got court of protection and public law. They support people who may need further support, just really to live out their daily lives. We've got family law, almost speaks for itself, property, and also private client services, which houses all our colleagues who deal with trusts, tax, estates and lifetime planning, etc. Okay, next slide, please, Liv. So this is a key question, and I'm hoping, again, it'll be really useful for those people on the call. So what is an apprenticeship? So an apprenticeship is a program offering an individual practical in-work training and experience, whilst also completing normally a qualification. Now at Irwin Mitchell, we work with a number of external training providers to deliver our professional apprenticeship programs. Now these programs are there to equip people with the knowledge, skills and behaviour, together with the experience needed to perform their roles, both now and also for the future. Now, I think it's really important for me to say that as university may not be for everyone, neither are our apprenticeships. But certainly from sessions like this, we're just really keen to provide really important information to enable those amongst you who are students and also parents, guardians and also influencers to hopefully feel better and more informed when making those important career decisions in the future. Now, we also get support from external training partners. Generally, when we have apprentices start, they are assigned to a dedicated coach for the duration of the apprenticeship programme. You also get time out during your working weeks to work on your learning in order to support you through your apprenticeship. In terms of age, any person of any age can be an apprentice as long as you're over 16. Now, in terms of apprenticeships, the minimum period has to be for 12 months, but some of our apprenticeships, as we'll come on to later, can last for up to 6.5 years. Now, why do we have apprenticeships? We're passionate about attracting, developing and retaining talent, as well as helping people to thrive within their roles on our apprenticeship programs, and also to help support them achieve their goals and create flourishing career journeys for the future. Now, apprentices with Irwin Mitchell are employed and have the same rights, responsibilities and obligations as any other colleague within the firm. But again, they have dedicated time off to support them with their learning. Next slide, please, Liv. Now, some common misconceptions I still sort of hear today is that apprenticeships are only for trade-based roles, whether that be electricians, bricklayers, people involved in construction. They're only low quality courses for those people who may not be deemed to be as academic as others, whose academic grades might not be as strong as others. They can only be used on new staff, and also they only pay the minimum wage. Well, thankfully, that's changed massively. There are now 859 apprenticeship standards, and we can use apprenticeships to upskill our colleagues, but most programs obviously have people who have a dedicated coach. We pay the national living wage, which we'll come on to a little bit later, and thankfully more and more apprenticeship programs now are aligned to sort of degree or master's level levels as well, which we see as a great opportunity for people. Next slide, please, Liv. Now, in terms of the levels of apprenticeships, you'll see on the screen, there are a variety of different levels. Now, for us at Irwin Mitchell, we start apprentices at the minimum advanced level 3, which you'll see there is equivalent to 2 A-level passes. We also have people coming in at the levels 4 and 5, the higher apprenticeships, which are equivalent to foundation degree, and then 6 and 7, we have people and they're equivalent to bachelor's or master's degree. Now, as I alluded to at the start, I'm really proud of our growth of our apprenticeship proposition since I joined in March 2021. Since then, we've had just over 125 apprentices start on programme, and we've also managed to increase the number of our apprenticeship programmes from 3 to 23 over the last 3 years. We're also very fortunate to be able now to recognise that our achievement rate for our apprenticeships is currently just under 90%, which is actually 30% higher than the national average, something we're extremely proud of. Next slide, please, Liv. Now here you'll see the illustration. It focuses on the main apprenticeships that we have on offer at the moment. So you'll see that at the very start, you'll see business administration. This is a level 3 apprenticeship programme. It lasts for about 12 to 18 months. And the requirements for that are we look for 5 GCSEs, levels 9 to 4. Now, this is specifically pertinent to those people who may be aged 16 or about to leave school at the age of 16, because we can take people on for this particular apprenticeship from the age of 16. Okay. Now, all the others you'll see there, we are looking for people who have at least 3 A levels. So with our finance programme, our tax apprenticeship, those people who we're going to be appointing to become paralegal apprentices, as well as our solicitor apprentices, and also those people who join our IT programmes, we are looking for individuals to have those minimum criteria qualifications. Now you'll see there that for the top 4 programmes, they cover anything from 12 to 24 months. Now for all our apprentices within these areas, we appoint people on a 24-month fixed term contract, but we very much look to retain all our apprentices at the end of their programmes. As well as IT, again, 24-month programme, and we will look to retain those people at the very end. The one change is where we have the solicitor apprenticeship, and purely because of the duration being 6 to 6.5 years, we recruit people on a permanent contract. You'll also see there our salaries, which we are paying all our new starter apprentices. For most areas around the country, we're paying £19,838, and for London, £21,749. You'll see what that equates to there, £380 a week or £416 per week for those people based in central London. Next slide, please, Liv. Now, since 2021, the methodology to become a qualified solicitor changed quite significantly. Traditionally, to qualify as a solicitor, you must have been studying a qualifying law degree before moving on to something called the LPC, the legal practice course, after which you would normally complete in a 2-year period known as a training contract. Or you could take any degree and then following that take a conversion type course, and then complete the LPC followed by a training contract. But since 2021 they introduced the solicitor apprenticeship, which essentially means you pass 2 stages of the solicitors qualifying exams and also complete 2 years worth of qualifying experience. Next slide please, Liv. So essentially what we're saying here, on the left there you'll see the traditional route, which is where you do your law degree. A lot of law graduates start as a paralegal, then they'll do the LPC, start in a training contract, and then basically undertake the professional skills course and become a fully qualified lawyer after that. You'll see there to the right, we've also got options for people wanting to become a chartered legal executive. But again, that can sort of reach all the way through to becoming a fully qualified chartered legal exec and subsequent cross qualification as a solicitor. What I'm really excited about is the solicitor apprenticeship, which we introduced ourselves in 2021, which is where Irwin Mitchell will support those people who are successful in their application, where we'll pay for your law degree, the LLB law degree, and then also pay for you to sit the solicitors qualifying exams 1 and 2, and also support you in gaining the 2 years qualifying work experience. And what that will mean after that is that you are exactly or you're qualified in exactly the same way as other people, and once you're qualified you will be on exactly the same salary as all those other people who've gone through the training contract. Next slide please, Liv. Now these next 2 slides, I'm the first to acknowledge that they are quite busy slides, but there is a reason as to why I wanted to include these. You'll see on this slide I've listed there a number of apprenticeship possibilities that could well be pertinent to Irwin Mitchell, whether that be now or in the future. But for those of you who are new to apprenticeships, I also wanted just to show the vast sort of range of apprenticeships that are out there in existence that organisations may well be recruiting to. So Liv, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. So you can see here, these are all the current non-legal apprenticeship sort of options that I felt were quite specific for Irwin Mitchell, and it's literally just a variety, a small variety of the 859 standards that are currently available. But for those amongst you, you'll see we've got apprenticeships in accountancy, there's apprenticeships in data, IT, artificial intelligence, cyber, HR, marketing, credit management, and a whole kit and caboodle of various apprenticeship programs at different levels. So it's just really an information sort of piece for you that there are a variety of apprenticeship programs. And if I had a son and daughter now looking for apprenticeships, I'd be very keen just to sort of make sure that they're fully familiar with the routes to finding out what apprenticeships are available amongst the employers within your local communities, or indeed throughout the country, because you may well be quite surprised as to how many are actually available. Next slide please, Liv. Okay, I'm now going to sort of hand you over to Sam, one of our tax apprentices. So yeah, I hope you enjoy listening to Sam. Here's his story.
Hi, I'm Sam, as you see on the screen. I'm a tax technician apprentice based out of the Chichester office. I work in the tax and trust compliance team, which is a subsection of the private client services sort of group that Lorcan mentioned previously. So I joined the firm in August 2022. I'm just coming up to the end of my apprenticeship. There's one more exam to go. So yeah, very excited to get that sorted. I'm completing the level 4 ATT apprenticeship, which is the Association of Taxation Technicians, and that is the relevant qualification that is running alongside my apprenticeship. So most of what we do in the tax team is we prepare self-assessment tax returns for a variety of different clients. They all have different affairs, and it's quite interesting. Another thing that we do is we reconcile date of death tax liabilities of HMRC. So we communicate a lot with HMRC and work quite closely with them to ensure sort of proper tax compliance when someone has unfortunately passed away. We also work with HMRC regarding our existing clients. If they have any queries, say if they sold a house, for example, we'd help them with that and basically take care of the tax side of things, make sure that everything is compliant and done properly. Also, as an aside, as a part of my apprenticeship, I do a bit of team admin as well. So managing the post, making sure that it goes where it needs to, running reports if my manager needs some data processing, little things like that. So on the right hand side of the slide, you can see a typical day in the life. So the day will start at 9 o'clock, and sort of the first half an hour or so I'll review my emails, see what's come in whilst I've been away from the office, and make a to-do list for the day. The first bit of the morning, I'll prepare a tax return or work through any sort of urgent tasks that have come in. Between 12 and 1, with then a lunch break, which is a very, very nice part of the day indeed. So then from 1 till approximately 2:30, I'll spend a bit of time on the phone talking to various departments in HMRC, like sort of liaising with them to help out any queries that some of my clients have had, and that I can sort out for them. As part of this, I write up file notes for my colleagues so that if someone else picks up the matter, they'll know what's been done so far. Okay, so the next hour or so of the day, I will draft emails to clients, sort of check in, make sure everything is okay. If I'm working on their tax return, for example, and there's some information missing, I can then request this and hopefully get it back quite quickly. I then spend a bit of time catching up with my inbox and emailing colleagues about some work that I have in progress, if there are any queries or questions, so these can then be sorted out. The last little bit of the day, I'll finish up whatever I'm working on, double check my inbox just to, again, to make sure that everything is in order, and sort of draft up a bit of a to-do list for the next day where we do it all again. Can I have the next slide, please, Liv? So some tips that I've got for apprenticeship applications, having gone through one myself, is very, very good, first of all, to dress for the occasion. Like it's a formal interview, and even if it is virtual, dressing up smart and making a good first impression is incredibly important. Is a very, very good idea as well to research where you're applying for, be it Owen Mitchell or another law firm, or even another entirely unrelated company. If you have a bit of background knowledge based around who you're applying for, it will reflect really, really well and shows that you're serious about your application, and that will help the interviewers decide that you are a good call. It would also help you feel calm and collected, and you can back up some of the answers for the questions that you may be asked. Another good thing to research is the qualification that you're doing and know why you want to do it. I'd expect an interviewer to ask these sorts of questions, so having something already in the back of your mind will make the whole process a lot easier and a lot less stressful. As we all know, interviews are inherently stressful things, even if they may not seem it initially. Taking your time to answer questions as well is very, very good. It will help you cover everything that you need to go through, without rushing or sort of showing that you're maybe more panicked than you might be. So always appear engaged in the conversation as well, even if you're not talking at that point. Sort of show active listening is another good tip that I'd say. Good eye contact, leaving your phone in another room as well so it doesn't buzz and distract you, is definitely a good place to start. So thank you for listening to me talk, and I'll now hand over to my colleague Izzy, who will carry on. Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay? So as Sam said, my name is Isabella Allen, and I'm currently doing the level 3 paralegal apprenticeship. I'm based in the Sheffield office under the medical negligence team. So that's basically under the complex personal injury that Lorcan mentioned at the beginning. So with the paralegal apprenticeship, I'm currently under the training provider called Daymar. So as Lorcan mentioned again at the beginning, you are basically given like an online coach. So they'll set you like weekly tasks for you to complete, you know, researching different parts of your textbook and attending live webinars and stuff like that. So you basically have like 1 day off per week to like study. So for example, my allocated day is a Monday. So Mondays tend to look like, a live webinar for an hour and then spending time making notes and then maybe doing a bit of revision. So within the paralegal apprenticeship, you will study Introduction to Law, the Law of Tort and Civil Litigation. And then the other 2 smaller modules you'll study are the Professional Skills and the Legal Research. And then what will happen is right at the end of your apprenticeship, so where I'm at now, you will sit 2 exams. So my exams, for example, are set at the middle of June. So I'm going to sit 2 exams there. And then also throughout your apprenticeship, you also create your own portfolio. So every task, you'll basically get like a learning outcome, and you'll have to find, evidence from what you've been doing in your day-to-day jobs to meet that certain criteria. So, that might be a particular file note from a client or showing that you've been able to review an expert's report, for example. So just giving an insight into some of the daily tasks that I do, I mean, nothing could possibly cover how many different things you could be doing in a day. Some days you'll go to work and I could be dealing on a case that's to do with amputation. The next day it could be something to do with, a cancer case. But generally, tasks tend to be such as, like chasing medical records or reviewing an expert's report. And we also have a new inquiry basket in the medical negligence team. So I sit on that basket once a week, and I basically take in any referrals that have been made from the call centre. And then it's my job then to send that to the solicitor and decide whether this is a case we take on or unfortunately we can't. In regards to office, so obviously Irwin Mitchell, has a flexible working policy, which is honestly amazing. So it currently means that I can be in the office, 2 or 3 days a week, and it's really great because when you're in the office, if you've got an issue, you've got a colleague sat right next to you that you can just ask a question, you don't have to wait for their reply. But at the same time, when you're working from home, I can't explain to somebody how much independence you grow as an apprentice, because you're given tasks and then you're then home and you're doing them tasks. You haven't necessarily got somebody next to you straight away to answer a question. So you sort of have to gain your own, resilience and be resourceful to what you have. But yeah, so it is really great working from home as well. Can I have the next slide, please, Liv? So the same as Sam, just giving you a bit of a day in the life. So as I've said with the flexible working, some people like Sam start work at 9. I'd prefer to finish work, a lot earlier, so I'll start earlier. So I tend to start work roughly between 7:30 and 8. So that's when I tend to either arrive to the office or, log on if I'm working from home. And then any time between, 8 and past, I'll read through any emails and I'll plan out my day. If there's anything urgent that's come in overnight, I can add that into my to-do list. And then for the first part of the morning, first hour and a half, I'll basically just complete any admin tasks. So I tend to not call any clients before 10 a.m. just because I don't want to wake them up and have to deal with that. So I tend to do any admin tasks, so reviewing reports or drafting any letters. And then up to, towards dinner time, that's when I tend to complete any client calls. So that would be any new inquiries or any funding calls that you have to do. Same again, lunch anytime, between 12 and 1 for an hour. And then once we've finished lunch, I tend to come back again, catch up on any emails that have come over from lunch or any urgent tasks or anything like that. And then for the last bit of the day, I complete any remaining tasks, that I have for that particular day. So, it could be copying radiology discs or, chasing up with an expert for a certain response. And then for the last half an hour or so of the day, I'll just, again, recheck over any emails for anything, that's come in. And one tip I would give to everybody, any apprentice, would be make a task list for the following day. Now, I use my diary a lot, which is helpful, but having it written down on a piece of paper when you know exactly what you're doing all day, it's so helpful and keeps me very organised. So just before I pass over to the next apprentice, I'm just going to give you a bit of an insight as to why I chose an apprenticeship over university. So within my school, there wasn't a lot of push towards apprenticeships, and that's not me just saying that. I'm being honest. I'm being honest. University wasn't something that I was interested in at all. I couldn't imagine sitting in a lecturer's room for another 4 years of my life. So for an apprenticeship for me, you're getting that on the job training, you're paid to learn, everybody uses that. But just reiterating that the amount of work experience you get as an apprentice is so valuable. Like there's some apprenticeships, that the amount of experience you learn in that amount of time is crazy. The amount of stuff I've learned in the last 2 years, I couldn't explain to any of you, to be honest. Obviously, again, obvious one, there's no debt with an apprenticeship. And as Lorcan's already mentioned as well, there's so many opportunities to continue learning once you've finished. So once I get to the end of my apprenticeship, there's plenty of options for me to carry on. And then just the last couple of bits for you. So, revolving apprenticeships, you still can have a lot of, a life outside of work and studying, going on holidays, having time off, that's still a thing. You get an allocated day for studying, so you're not eating, at your weekend. Same again, you've got your foot in the door, you're speaking to different colleagues every single day, you're speaking to partners, you're speaking to people in different, locations. So you start to build up a little bit of a contact list for yourself, which is really great. And anybody who hasn't already, I'd really recommend to do a LinkedIn profile because that'll really help in the future. And then just to leave you on a bit of a statistic, so roughly around 50,000 law students are qualifying from university every year, but roughly only around 5,000 of those are getting training contracts. So they aren't really meeting with the demand at the minute. So, that's why I would say, try and get an apprenticeship if that's something that you want to do, just because, you're already there. So thank you for listening. I'm just going to pass over to my colleague Connor, and he's going to go through his apprenticeship now.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm a finance apprentice and I'm based in Sheffield. I'm doing an AAT level 3 diploma in accounting. In regards to my journey to get here, I studied biology, chemistry and maths at A level, and then I went on to do aerospace engineering at the University of Sheffield. But unfortunately, I didn't really get on with how the course was structured. It was very lecture heavy, and even when you came home, your day wasn't really over. You still had to review what you'd learnt and even do some self-study. So I ended up dropping out and I went to full-time work, and I found that to be a lot better for my kind of preferences, because I got to put any skills that I learnt into use straight away. Unfortunately, that was kind of a bit more of a job rather than a career, so that's why I started to look into apprenticeships, and that's how I found this accounting one at Irwin Mitchell. Typical day for me would be kind of prioritizing tasks in the morning and checking any emails that might come through while I've been logged off. Any high priority ones I do before lunch, and I'll make a list of any notes if there's been any issues that I've encountered. And then after lunch, I'll have a call with my manager and we'll go through and work through any of those. And then I'll complete any of the lower priority tasks. And I always like to keep kind of half an hour at the end of the day just to wrap up any of the tasks, check the inbox again, and just make a list of things to be done tomorrow to make my morning a little bit easier. Can I have the next slide, please, Liv? As a finance apprentice, you rotate around teams. So this is only the kind of first team I've worked with, but so far it's just been about kind of seeing tax returns for the partners through from start to finish. So that involves inputting the data and generating the return, and then reconciling any differences between what the actual numbers are and what we expected. Then we can send those to the partners for them to review. And if they find that there's maybe a typo or something that they forgot to tell us about, then we can amend those errors at that point. And after they're satisfied, we can submit that to HMRC. And throughout that process, you're kind of keeping track as well of any refunds that need to be paid out or any deficits that might need to be covered. Once everybody has been submitted to HMRC, we organise a bulk payment file with all the partners on it, and that needs to be kept up to date and accurate. So it's a lot of monitoring that as well. And then once that payment has gone out, we like to just send a summary email just to let them know what we've paid on their behalf. As I touched on earlier, I didn't really get on with university, so I just thought I'd let you know a few reasons why I thought apprenticeships were better. Like I said, you learn on the job, and I think putting those things into practice is much easier for a lot of people. The whole learn while you earn is a really big plus as well, because again, like we previously said, there's no debt. You get a lot of experience while you're on your course, and you get paid while you do it. And for me, in my apprenticeship, the exam structure has been a lot better. It's been kind of, you study a module and then you have a test on it, and then you move on to the next one and you have a test on that. So you kind of get tested while it's all still fresh in your head, which is, a big contrast to kind of what happens at school, college, and a lot of university, which is kind of learn everything and then get tested right at the end. So it takes a lot of pressure off the exams. And again, like Lachlan said earlier, it's not just lower level apprenticeships, you can do higher ones. So I'd like to do a level 4 and then a level 7 to hopefully become a chartered accountant. So there's plenty of opportunity to kind of further your career and any ambitions that you've got. But yeah, I think that more or less wraps up for me. So I'll pass it on to Faith. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Faith Smith and I'm currently completing my business admin apprenticeship. So I work at Irwin and I'm based in the Sheffield office, and I began my apprenticeship in September 2023. So I've only been in the job role 5 months. So I've been in your position not that long ago. And I work as a business administrator in the court of protection team. And my main responsibilities include supporting the wider team, including all the lawyers and the partners. And on a day-to-day, I handle clients and incoming post. I organise court orders and I update systems. And so this can change based on whether you're in the office or out of the office, depending on what you're going to be doing on the daily. And so the general administration duties is we set these daily so that we can achieve what we need to. And so I currently started my apprenticeship work in October. And so I'm only on module 3, which is all about IT systems. And as Isabel mentioned earlier, mine is also with Daymore. And so through Daymore, it's mainly a portfolio based for the business admin. And this means that you just have to show evidence of your job role and different tasks to be able to show that you're learning the skills that you're meant to be learning through the apprenticeship. And then at the end, mine's around 16 months. And at the end, you have an endpoint assessment, which includes a multiple choice exam, and then an interview type task where you have to be able to show through your portfolio the tasks that you've completed, and then a project on task development, which I've started to do already within my team. So my working week normally goes as Monday and Tuesday I'm in the office, and so I'm able to complete task-based that need to be in the office for. So this can include organising all the court orders and checkbooks. And then Wednesday I have as my study day, Thursday I work from home, and Friday I'm in the office again. And so, as previously mentioned, Wednesday I use as my study day. So you get 1 day off a week, and I've found that this really helps with your work-life balance, because I've found that 1 day a week is much time that you need to be able to get all your study done. And this can include having your coaching sessions or like your pre-work where you're watching seminars and things like that. So next slide, please, Liv. So the application process, applications are now open for IM, and the apprenticeships close on the 29th of February. So this time last year, I was currently doing my application process, and mine included the online application form, which is the first step. Then I had a phone call interview and completed a Word document with some more questions. And then I had an assessment centre, which included an interview and presentation. And so I would say the application process is as much for you as it is the employer. So it's important that you decide if you feel like this job role is correct for you, and not just you being correct for the job role. And so my top tips, I'd say definitely research the company, whether that's Irwin Mitchell or a different one, especially their values, because it's important for you to know whether they align with your own. And if you include it on a presentation or an interview, it makes you stand out a lot more if you're including what they have in their website, etc. So I think about the reason that you would like to join that particular company. And again, if you can include this in your interview, it will make you stand out a lot more. And ask questions about the firm. So in my interview at the end, they asked if I had any questions, and I'd got some prepared, and I feel like this is a really good way of looking like you're interested and wanting to know more in the firm. And it means if you've got some ready, you're not left scrambling, trying to think. And I would say don't focus on the perfect answer and be yourself. There's no point coming up with a perfect answer if you don't feel like it actually aligns with anything to do with you. And make notes of examples where you've shown the values which are required. So you'll probably ask in your application form or in your interview where you've shown specific skills, and it's good to have examples of this that you can then use. And it's much easier to do this if your interview's virtual, like mine was, and you can just have them in front of you and they'll never know. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Rosie now.
Hi everyone, so I'm Rosie and I'm a solicitor degree apprentice based in Newcastle in the serious injury team. So a little bit about me, I'm a first year apprentice and completed my GCSEs in 2021 and then went to study law policing in criminology before starting my apprenticeship in September with Irwin Mitchell. The whole reason I went to college was because I preferred a hands-on, practical approach to learning, and that's where I found out about degree apprenticeships and knew that was the route for me. University never really appealed to me. Like Isabella mentioned before, sitting in a lecture theatre for 4 years wasn't something I wanted to do. So I knew the apprenticeship route was for me. My apprenticeship is 6 to 6.5 years long, so it is a long time. But when you compare that to the time you would spend at university, you would spend 4 years completing your degree, then potentially paralegal for a bit, and then go on to complete the solicitor qualifying exams. And as training contracts are becoming more competitive and the demand isn't being met, it seemed like a no-brainer for me to go down this route where I've got that job security and I'm on a set path. And yes, it is a long time, but it's no different compared to people at university. So you're not on a back foot. If anything, you know, you're a little bit ahead of everybody else at university because you're getting that practical work experience. So I currently study with the University of Law, and I have catch-ups every 12 weeks with my dedicated skills coach who will support me throughout my 6 years. I also sit my SQEs with the University of Law, so I'll have a structured programme which will help me and prepare me to sit the solicitor qualifying exams. We also have regular catch-up calls with Logan in the early careers team and have regular meetings with my line manager every week. So there is support with work side of things as well as the university side of things. I would say my apprenticeship has definitely provided me with opportunities to develop personally and professionally. And in such a short space of time, my confidence has grown greatly. And if you'd asked me a year ago, I would never have thought I'd be sitting here talking to you today. So a typical day in my life, my team uses flexible by choice quite a lot. So we have a team office day, which is a Wednesday, and then the rest of the days of the week we can choose whether or not we want to go in. But it is really nice having that time in the office and being able to see your team. So my typical daily tasks in serious injury include sort of the admin tasks like the previous apprentices have touched on, reviewing and requesting medical records, legal research, attending client appointments, which I think is a really big thing that if I didn't take this route, I wouldn't have got that experience to a lot later down the line. So it's amazing to be able to have that experience at such a young age and drafting witness statements. However, it is really important to stress no 2 days are the same. I work on many different cases for a few different solicitors, and there's always opportunities to learn, progress, and try new and different types of work. Could I have the next slide, please, Liv? So for me, the best bits about my job are the client exposure, like I touched on before. You simply would not be able to get that if you went down the university route, and it's so valuable for your confidence in developing professionally. And then again, you gain valuable on the job experience and you earn as you learn, which you know, you avoid all that debt that going to university gives you. And sitting the SQEs, again, they're a very expensive exam to sit, and having a firm pay for that is amazing. Going to university, like Isabella touched on before, doesn't automatically secure you a job when you graduate. And having that job security at such a young age, and knowing I'm on a set path with a firm that's really dedicated to my progression, is something that is just, it's really amazing. And they really are dedicated to seeing us progress and getting us to that end goal. Apprenticeships are becoming a much more recognised route to qualification. So if it is something you are interested in and you think you would like a career in this, it makes sense to start your career early and get that head start. You gain so many transferable skills at such an early age, and I've had so many people in my team come up to me and say, I can't believe you're only 18, 19 and you know you're working in a full service law firm and contributing so much to the team. And it's really nice to have that recognition. And again, lastly, just to touch on, you learn from industry experts, and the people in your team, they are experts at what they do, and they're so willing to help because you're working on, for me, I'm working on their cases, so they give me a lot of their time and put so much into me, and you know, you do see the results. But with that does come the challenges. I think the biggest challenge I've faced is managing my workload while studying a full-time university degree. It is challenging and it is a step up from full-time education, but in saying that, you do have the support. I have the support from Lorcan and the early careers team. I have the support from my team at work, and I also have the support from my university. So whilst it can be difficult at first to find your feet, you do fall into a routine, and it does just become second nature. And I don't think anything of it now. It's just my normal, and it's slotted into place, and it's been absolutely fine. That follows on nicely to obviously mentioning it is a step up from full-time education, and it can be quite daunting. It is going to be a step up whatever apprenticeship you do, and balancing that, you know, studying and working full-time, it is difficult, but you have your study day, and the flexible by choice policy at Irwin Mitchell makes it a lot easier. And then I think this one can be a positive, but it can also be a bit of a challenge. You have that increase in independence and responsibility. A lot of apprentices are coming fresh out of school, where perhaps your responsibilities before would have been revising for exams, and then you're going into a full service law firm, dealing with clients, dealing with the court potentially. That responsibility again can be quite daunting and can feel quite overwhelming at first, but everyone in the team understands that you're new and understands that, you know, this is going to be an overwhelming, daunting process for you. So if you've ever got any questions, they're always on hand to answer them, and you know, they understand that sometimes you'll just need that bit of reassurance. And then finally, I've had a lot of apprentices ask me, did you fear missing out on the university experience, or how do you find it when your friends are at university? And I think at first it is always going to be a bit of a worry in your first weeks of your apprenticeships. You know, your friends are potentially going out to freshers week, and I think this is something which puts a lot of apprentices off, which I've spoke to, but it's really not the case. There's so many things and so many opportunities out there to get involved in. So for example, I'm part of a junior lawyers division, I'm part of a young professionals forum, I'm part of a women lawyers division, and they hold events where, like, there's a cinema event on up here where all the young apprentices are going to attend and watch a film together and have some food and go out for drinks. I've been to a Christmas event. There's an event for St. Patrick's Day, which is all focused around young professionals networking with each other and keeping in touch. So I would definitely say if that is something that you're worried about, there is no need to be worried. There's plenty of opportunities to make connections and network with other young professionals. And yeah, I definitely think apply for apprenticeship if you are thinking about doing it. So I'll just pass back over to Lorcan, who will just make some closing comments and go on to questions.
Thanks ever so much, Rosie. Well, we hope you've been inspired and obviously informed in some way by each of our apprenticeship stories. Very brave to share their personal journeys, but again, we hope that's been of great use to each of you. This next slide, I just really wanted to take some moments just to cover off a little bit about what some of the apprentices have said about, you know, the importance in the career decisions about apprenticeships versus university. Now, I think it's really important for me to say that, you know, university might be right for certain individuals. It might be right, it mightn't be right for others. But certainly, sort of, since I started this role in my years working early careers, one thing I've been really sort of keen to do is just provide more information. So provide, you know, personal experiences from our apprentices, to really dispel those myths that I alluded to earlier on, to help you, your parents, teachers, other influencers, just help trigger hopefully more healthy, more open conversations about the career pathways and options available to you, rather than just thinking, do you know what, university is the only route. I think, again, just sort of covering off, apprenticeships are great. They can obviously mean that you are in employment, you don't have that debt, you gain a qualification which is transferable. I've had people who've left me once they've qualified, but they've transferred to another workplace. Equally, I've had apprentices who transferred from other workplaces to complete their apprenticeship, so that's fully doable. It normally also means you can get a good wage. You've heard about the flexible by choice working model that we operate here at Irwin Mitchell. The fact that you can still have a very healthy work-life balance. You can earn while you learn, and getting some fantastic experience. Hopefully what came across through a lot of our apprentice stories is how much you can sort of work with clients and be a real value add to your team, which is something that I know they're all really enjoying. And remember, if you are looking for an apprenticeship, it doesn't mean to say that university isn't available forever. It might just be a case of, well, yeah, do you know what? The university is available, but it just might not be something I'm keen on right now. Okay, next slide, please, Liv. And just to reiterate, this is the support that each of our apprentices get. I'm a dedicated apprenticeship manager. Not all firms have this. Sometimes it can be somebody in HR who has a certain amount of time to obviously support their apprenticeship proposition, but I feel very proud and very privileged to be able to support our apprenticeship proposition well and robust. I have a robust methodology where I'm all about making sure not only do our apprentices have all the support they need, but also the management teams who are managing those apprentices as well. You'll see there the picture, the top one, that's our early careers team. So we're all on hand to support all of our early careers cohorts. That includes our trainees as well. There's obviously your own team and your line manager. As some of the apprentices have alluded to, I have regular one-to-ones with all our apprentices just to make sure that your journey is a positive one and I can help and support wherever possible. You will also get a dedicated coach from our training provider who I work very closely with. You'll also have your other colleagues as well, your other apprentice cohort colleagues as well. We have a Irwin Mitchell Learning Hub, and everyone will be invited to attend the induction when that happens in September when people join. Next slide, please. I'm conscious of time, so we'll try and get through these next few slides very quickly. Just some benefits really in terms of why choose Irwin Mitchell Apprenticeships. We've already alluded to the fact that we feel apprenticeships are pivotal to Irwin Mitchell's future success. We're recently named as, regularly named as top law firm for apprenticeships by the Job Crowd. Thankfully, and I'm really proud to say that over the last 2 years, we've been one of the highest climbers in the Rate My Apprenticeship Employer rankings. And what is very special about these rankings is based on rankings based on the experience of our own apprentices, which is something I take great pride in. We operate the Flexi by Choice working model. I believe ourselves we have an excellent training and development program, and we've got a good pedigree of delivering apprenticeships. We've also got myself, a dedicated apprenticeship manager. All our new apprentices will be joining an annual cohort with fantastic networking opportunities. And like some of the apprentices have alluded to, they're looking forward to obviously completing their apprenticeship, and also looking at other opportunities, whether that be a subsequent apprenticeship or promotional or lateral options moving forward. Next slide, please, Liv. So here's just a reminder of our apprentice recruitment timeline. We opened on Monday, the 5th of February, coincided with National Apprenticeship Week, and we'll be closing on the 29th of February. We'll be arranging our assessment centres towards late March, April and then early May. Offers will then be starting to be made during April and May, and then we'll be looking for our apprentices to start with us in September. Now the next slide, please, Liv. I just wanted to include this slide because this is from December 2022, and the illustration here shows how at that point Irwin Mitchell were recognised by the Lawyer, a specialist legal publication, as the firm which had the highest number of apprenticeships. Now that was fantastic to see. We've still got a high number of apprentices. I'll be honest, I don't know what the latest sort of stats are, but I'm sure we're up there in terms of being certainly in the top quartile, which is something we are very, very proud of. Just some of the useful resources here for people who are listening to this recording afterwards, but you'll see by Googling and using some of these sources, they can be very, very useful for you and your parents, influencers, etc., to help support you in determining which career paths are available and which ones might be right for you. Okay, that concludes the presentation. That's our apprentice cohort from last year, 2023. But again, you'll see the website there if anyone wants to apply, or there's also a frequently asked questions section there as well. So I'm conscious we've only got a few minutes left. Liv, shall I just maybe go through some of the questions that have come through?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So I think some of the key things to reiterate, for people who've got a degree, unfortunately the solicitor apprenticeship isn't possible for those graduates who already have a degree. If you're undergoing a good degree and haven't completed it, then we would welcome applications. And specifically for those people who are studying law, we will encourage applications from those people who haven't got a degree but are studying law. But throughout the process, we may well need to come back to you to understand more specifics about how far you've gone within your sort of law training, because then we'll need to determine whether or not you'll still be eligible to do the solicitor apprenticeship. One of the questions we've received is, what age should I consider applying for the apprenticeship? Now, the great thing about our apprenticeships, and for any apprenticeship, is that it's open to anyone of any age. So if we've got people who are leaving school at 16 or 18 where you need A-levels, or indeed other people who may well be career changers, apprenticeships are absolutely fully open to you as well. Okay. Some of the questions as well, if we've got any neurodiverse applicants, we're very keen to encourage all of you to apply, where we'll make sure we provide you with the adjustments needed in order for you to maximise your success throughout the application and assessment centre process, and also subsequently afterwards if you're successful. Are you guaranteed a job after your apprenticeship? We look to retain as many of our apprentices as possible upon completion. The solicitor apprenticeship is the role that we offer at the outset, which is permanent. Our solicitor apprentices offer to non-law university graduates. So as I alluded to, unfortunately, it's only available for people who haven't completed a degree. Now, do people need to have law experience, legal experience to apply for our roles? Absolutely not. We very much encourage anybody who feels that their values align to Irwin Mitchell's values, and you'll be able to see some of that information on our website. But we would very much encourage as many people to apply for these roles as possible, regardless of your prior work experience. In terms of the progression from the paralegal apprenticeship to the solicitor apprenticeship, yeah, so we've had some people already who joined as a paralegal apprentice, and they've since then been successful in applying for the solicitor apprenticeship. So we had some people who joined in 2021, they passed their apprenticeship, and then they embarked on the solicitor apprenticeship last year, and they'll have about another sort of 5 or 6 years to go in order to become fully qualified. People can also move firms. So if you are undertaking your apprenticeship sort of elsewhere, whether that be the solicitor apprenticeship, then it is something we can consider. Apprenticeships are normally very portable. On that sort of note, I would encourage all to apply, and then if you're successful throughout the process, we'll obviously come back to you with any questions that we have, and we can determine the best routes and pathways for you. Okay, Liv, I think that sort of concludes really our time here. I just want to say a big thank you for listening, and we would like to take this opportunity to wish you every success in your future career endeavours moving forward. Thank you again for listening.